California Congressman Khanna, who sits on the House Oversight Committee. Congressman, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
I want to bring you some news that we have because the Oversight Committee tweeted out it's reached an agreement with former President Trump and accounting firm Mazars USA to turn over his financial records to the committee. What more can you tell us?
Well, this is long overdue. We've been working on this for a number of years. Those documents are important because, as you remember, Michael Cohen had testified before our committee that there could have been financial fraud, that the president had certain conflicts of interest. We've never been able to significantly investigate that because the president's own accountants refused to hand over those documents. Now the president is saying that the accounting firm can get us those documents and we can really continue the investigation.
Congressman, I want to talk to you about this Mar-a-Lago search as we look to that hearing this afternoon on the special master. We know the Justice Department typically speaks through its filings. What do you make so far of what the department has had to say so far?
I think they're doing a very professional job. This is not political. If there were any elected official, Democrat or Republican, who had scores of classified materials stored in their private residence, the Justice Department would do the exact same thing. In fact, they would have probably acted much sooner. They're being very careful because you have a former president involved, but they are following the book and they're trying to keep our country safe. Their first priority is to make sure that they get these documents so that they're not out there and putting our country in harm's way.
And your committee, the Oversight Committee, requested a damage assessment from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. The ODNI has agreed to do this. Any sense of when your committee will get that assessment?
I expect that we will get it in the fall. We obviously are very concerned what was in these documents and what may have been compromised. We also are interested in finding out how do we prevent something like this from ever happening again. And I am confident that we will get that information.
As a lawmaker, what will you be looking for when deciding how to prevent this from happening again?
I want to know what safeguards we can institute. You know, in the House, if I ever need to see classified information, I have to give up my phone. I go down into the basement, into a secured SCIF. I can't take any documents out of that location. And so I don't understand why these procedures aren't there for the White House, for anyone, for the president, for someone on his staff. It should be absolutely secure, and you shouldn't be able to remove sensitive information from the premises.
Obviously, this is a highly charged issue, and some of Trump's allies say there could be violence if Trump is indicted. Given the hyperpolarization today, what do you think is the onus on politicians and public figures? Should they be doing more to tamp down the rhetoric? And do you think the president will address this tonight when he addresses the nation?
The president will. We all need to tone down the temperature. You know, as a son of immigrants, when I was growing up, the one thing my family always told me is in America, there is no political violence. Unlike other countries, we resolve our disputes through a political process. That is what makes America exceptional. And it is sad to me that we are seeing increasing threats, the types of phone calls some of my colleagues are getting. We all should have a stake in lowering the temperature and making it very clear that in this country, unlike many other countries, violence and threats have no place.
Congressman, Democrats obviously are working on their messaging ahead of the midterms. Democrats were able to pick up another House seat last night. Mary Peltola won the special election there in Alaska to fill Don Young's seat. She's the first woman and an Alaska native to hold the seat. Also, this comes a week after a special election in New York. Democrats weren't expecting a win there. They got it. What does this suggest to you about right now how voters are feeling and prospects for your own party in the midterms?
There's a momentum. It was a big win last night. She pulled off an upset, defeated Sarah Palin, who had national name recognition. Two things. One, choice is on the ballot. A woman's right to choose is on the ballot, and we're seeing record numbers of people turning out on that issue. And second, people now see that Democrats are unified in getting things done. This president has passed the American Rescue Plan, infrastructure, bringing manufacturing back with the CHIPS Act, the Inflation Reduction Act on prescription drugs and climate. It's a bold agenda. We have a lot that we have delivered, and people are noticing.
One of the wins we know that the president and fellow Democrats will be touting is student debt loan forgiveness. But some Republicans are saying that this is going to make inflation even worse. Some are even questioning whether the president has legal authority to do this. Congressman, what do you say to people who maybe have doubts about whether a measure like this is fair or that it will be paid for?
First of all, as someone who took out $100,000 of student loans and I paid them back, I understand what hardship many people are going through. Many people who are getting these student loans, by the way, are the first in their families to go to college, and they're coming from working class families. It's just not true that this is going to have an inflationary impact. A lot of these loans weren't being repaid anyway. What this is going to do is making sure that people who aren't able to pay their loans, that their credit isn't destroyed, that they don't have to go into bankruptcy, that they still can get a job, can buy a house, and the total cost of it, according to Nobel laureate Joseph Stiglitz, is about $30 billion a year. So there's been a lot of exaggeration out there. There was this Penn study done by a Bush appointee, but the facts are that this is not significantly inflationary, and it's going to provide relief for working class and middle class families.
Congressman, where in the budget are you going to find that $30 billion to pay for it?
Well, we've had $1.7 trillion of deficit reduction, and we, as Democrats, have actually said, let's have higher taxes on those making over $400,000. Let's reverse the Trump tax cuts. I'd love for any Republican who's saying, how are we going to pay for it? I'd love for them to join us in voting to reverse some of the Trump tax cuts.
Congressman Khanna, thanks for your time.
Thank you.